So this identification is on science and great advances in the late 1800s, of which there were many, which led to certainly a better lifestyle for all people um, in the United States and then also in the world. And in the 1800s, you may have seen in your text that patents, we I think have discussed that patents, which were expanding greatly, and patents are basically a scientific copyright in a sense, in which your invention is protected from being stolen by someone else. So it financially protects someone with, and the amount of patents uh, skyrocketed in the late 1800s, and you can see the indication of that, of course, is that many things were invented, and that inventors try to protect that for financial reasons and also for getting credit for what they had invented. So Thomas Edison, one of the most important inventors in U.S. history as well as the world, he is one of the inventors of the incandescent light bulb. There were others that were trying prototypes, uh, and Thomas Edison's was clearly the best, and it became the gold standard for light bulbs. He also invented the phonograph, like the record player for music, which was something where people could just now listen to music by listening to records. And maybe one of the biggest things he invented was the motion picture camera and the voting machine. And so he had over 1,000 patents. Um, his personal life led him to Menlo Park out east, and he actually started. I'll give you a little bit background on his early years. He started as a telegraph operator, but his wife died at 29, so that was very rough for him, and he moved on and moved to New Jersey, um, out east, and then basically dedicated his whole life to inventing from that time forward. His nickname was the Wizard of Menlo Park. Now here you see the light bulb. Another a shot of the early light bulb, or incandescent light. And this was a huge change in American history because before that, light was done by flame, which was much more dangerous. It would be powered by oil or some fuel like such as that, with wicks, candles. So there were many fires, and you had even inside buildings, you would have kind of a metal stick with little flames coming out of the metal, in which gas was pumped through the pipes for the flames. So you could have explosions, fires. It was expensive, and so this huge change to have light bulbs allowed buildings. Once it proliferated, it allowed buildings to have um, light bulbs, which was far safer and more efficient than gas, candles, or fuel, and gave much better light. So it was a great change in lifestyle, safety, and also a better lifestyle. Another shot of a light bulb. So then Edison in his laboratory, and he had many assistants working with him. He hired people to work with him, and had advisors, and he began to work on the phonograph. So the phonograph record player. And now we have CD players, and it came along, and cassette recorders for sound, but the phonograph was a gigantic invention that eventually led to other more improved ways to listen to music and to record sound. Um, okay, one of his quotes: I have not failed, but I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Okay. Another big invention Edison had was, and especially when you think of the United States film history, is the motion picture camera. So he invented a way to film people, not just take uh, frozen photographs, but to motion pictures. And that was an invention that really led to movies and movie theaters and the first silent movies, and really an important cultural history of the United States too. This scientific invention led to a huge cultural change. There's a silent film made by the famous Charlie Chaplin. Another very important thing coming up is Edison's idea to have electricity in all of the homes uh, through wiring and through power plants, and that's the next. You see here, after much work, and he had much competition from um, Westinghouse, Tesla, and others, the idea of having electric power lines wired to buildings and houses. And here you see, and then they debated about AC current and DC current, which I'm not going to get into, but there was different types of delivery. But in the end, it took a huge amount of workers and supplied many jobs of people laying electric lines and laying uh, building power plants and to light up buildings. So now you have not only light and light bulbs, but now electricity to power them. A huge change. Science led to a huge change in the United States. So Edison finally died in 1931. So he died from 1847 to 1931. Thomas Edison, the great inventor.